Hi there, business owner. Are you looking to improve your business knowledge? Do you want to see behind the scenes of successful businesses? And more importantly, are you looking to build a better business in just 15 minutes each week? If so, you're in the right place. Welcome to the 3Bs podcast. Hello and welcome back to another episode of the 3Bs podcast, your go-to 15 CPD certified minutes each week to help you build a better business. As always, I'm your host Stephanie, and this week I wanted to talk about 2024 in review because every man and their dog is about to post their 2024 year in review, including me. Hear that as a highlight reel. But not everything in business or life is positive. So here's 3 things that I failed at in 2024. It's really important for me to be open and honest and transparent with you all because not everything is rosy. And so often we forget that these highlight reels we see all over social media is not the full picture. And you're going to look at my 2024 and think, oh my God, she has her stuff together. She is absolutely nailing it in business and in life. And in truth, I'm not. I'm just muddling my way through like everybody else. And I'm going to be honest. And here's 3, although I could have wrote many, many more and talked about many, many more. 3 things that I failed at in 2024. Number 1 is the Money Monday newsletter. So many of you may know about this, you may not. I talked about it on the podcast before. I made the decision that in April of this year, I would launch a Money Monday newsletter where I would send out a simple email newsletter packed full of money-related, finance-related tips. And it was something I was really passionate about. I wanted to help as many business owners as possible with not just their business finances, but their personal finances too, to help them make better financial decisions overall, to help them live a better life, whether it's build a better business, have a better quality of life in their lifestyle personally, all these things that I've learned over the years, I wanted to share with fellow people in my network and in my industry and in my world. So I did the launch. I didn't do a very big launch. I'm not one for hugely launching things. I tend to kind of have an idea, and when I agree that I'm going to do it, I just do it and I send it out there. It's just one of those things that I tend to do. So I did that and got people on the newsletter and pre-loaded. I wrote maybe 5 or 6 up front before I started, because I learned when I started the podcast that I can't just start something and run with it and post it constantly. I need that little backlog, that little vault of things ready, because things get sick. Things often happen in the practice or with the podcast. That means that things have to be moved around. Same with the children. Things happen, kids are off sick, and I have to move things around. So I like to make sure there is a vault ready to go. In case I'm kind of sick or anything just doesn't work in time, so that people are still getting their consistent communication and their consistent content from us. So I did the 5 or 6, talked about it on social media. In all honesty, I really should have launched a lot more. I should have did a proper launch on this thing. I don't know how many more times I can say launch this podcast, but I should have looked at it and done it more strategically than I did. I just wanted to get it out there, and I wanted to tie it in with the beginning of the new tax year, because that's how I roll. Same with the podcast. We launched it at the beginning of the tax year, at the beginning of the financial year in April. That is when I like to start new things, it seems. So week 1 was opened by most people that had subscribed to the newsletter, and I sent out 2 and 3 and then started writing 7 and 8 once 2 and 3 were scheduled, thinking, oh, I can keep up with this. This is going to be fine. Very quickly, I ran out of ideas. Very quickly, I did not have the time in my week, alongside running the practice, alongside all my personal responsibilities, and alongside this podcast, to write these newsletters, because they weren't short newsletters. They were quite long. They were very detailed, often had a lot of links and resources and data I wanted to include in the newsletters to help people understand this information. Because again, when there's a lot of jargon in these things, that I wanted to make sure they're easy to understand. And if they're not easy for people to understand, then there's no point in me do them. So I intended to make them quite long so that people would fully understand, and anyone could understand the information and take it away and implement it into their own lives and their own businesses and their own worlds. Very quickly, we ran out of time. Very quickly, I got to maybe 8 or 9, I think, and I had nothing else backed up, and I was very busy. It was a very busy back quarter for us, and it just fell away. And in hindsight, I should have thought about the time it would take out of my week once they were up and rolling. Not that, oh, I'll make time for it. And you'll find that I will make time for it is a very common theme in the things that I failed at, the mistakes that I made in 2024. But that was definitely it died a death. It was not viable anymore. I definitely still have them all stored, and I use them to repurpose into other content. So it wasn't a complete waste of time. But I tried and I failed, and those that weren't on the newsletter probably wouldn't even know that I tried and failed. So I'm being open and honest with you all here. The Money Monday newsletter was a great idea. It definitely needs some fiddling. It's something I potentially may bring back. I'm not sure. Let me know. Drop us an email or find us on social media and let us know if I should take it up again. If it's something you would be interested in, is having that written email newsletter each week in your inbox to help you personally and business finance wise. Number 2 was, it's a big thing, but it's time management. Like, this is my main area that I failed at in 2024, and there's lots of parts to this. So I said yes to far too many opportunities. I remember Ashley Lees was on the podcast a while ago. If you haven't listened to it yet, go back and listen to that episode or watch the episode on YouTube. Ashley Lees is a LinkedIn expert, and he's brilliant, and he's a 15-minute guy, and he was the inspiration to this podcast, and he's been a massive help in business for me, directly and indirectly. And he said, never say no to an opportunity, Stephanie, because you'll never know where it's going to lead. And I thought to myself, you are completely right. But I said yes to far too many opportunities this year, which meant I had to turn down events I wanted to go to. It meant that I was utterly exhausted and then would get really sick because I wasn't looking after myself, because I was cramming in all this work. You know, I had a really complex set of accounts this year that I was trying to fix from a previous accountant that was working day and night on for a month. And I would literally go home, feed the children, open the laptop, work till midnight, go to sleep, get up at 5 a.m, do 2 hours, then get the kids up, take them to school, come in and then do the rest of the work in the office during the day and the podcast and everything else, and made myself really sick. Like, this year I have had to take a lot of time out of work being sick, which then compounds the issue of not having enough time to do all the things I want to do and all the things that need to be done in the business. Time management was also because I was sometimes so stuck firefighting on the day-to-day of urgent, next day things were due, the day after things were due. I'm recording this podcast on the Wednesday. This is going to go out tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. and I've got to record it, edit it down, add the subtitles, schedule it, and write all the descriptions, which leaves no time for marketing, no time to tell you what I'm going to do tomorrow's podcast on, because at the time of recording this, it's going out tomorrow. So I hadn't actually recorded it, so I didn't know exactly what I was going to record it on, because again, I'm so stuck firefighting on the issue that things were creeping up on me. I had a meeting week before, with a client that it'd been booked in once a quarter. It was my quarterly meeting with one of our clients in the practice, and not looking far enough ahead in my diary because I'm so stuck on the day-to-day firefighting, didn't realise. So I thought, I'm going to have a quieter morning. I'm not going to go into the office first thing. I'm going to do some life admin. I'm going to put the wash on. I'm going to clean the house. I'm going to do all those little things. And then go into the office, give myself like an extra hour, slow work up, and then go in and hammer through the work. And then my phone pinged, and I was like, I have 20 minutes to get ready, get dressed, get in the office, and make sure I'm prepped for a meeting with a client. And when they came in, I owned up to them straight away. I was like, I am so sorry. Like, this completely slipped my mind because I wasn't looking far enough ahead at what was in my diary, because I was so focusing on that this is due right now. And as a business owner, it's very easy to get into that firefighting mindset and never finding a way out. So if anything I can advise business owners on, and I know I'm not the only person that does this because I see my clients do it too, and I need to start practicing what I preach, is that time management is really, really important. And say yes to opportunities as they arrive, but also sometimes you do have to say no, and it hurts sometimes. So for example, I couldn't go to digital accountancy show this year, and I have such FOMO. I am gutted that I couldn't be there because I really wanted to go. It's the one I really want to go to. It's not too far from me geographically, so it's not so difficult with the childcare for me to go to the digital accountancy show, but couldn't go. Again, the Accountancy Excellence Awards, I didn't even enter this year because I knew I wouldn't be able to go to the awards if I was shortlisted or a finalist. I didn't have the time to complete an application to the correct standard it needed to be. You know, these applications for awards do take time out of your day, and if you're not going to go all in with them, it's not really any point in doing them, I don't think. So my time management must be better in 2025. And opportunities, I won't say yes to them all anymore. I will start saying no. The back end of this year, I did learn to do that. I think getting sick made me really reevaluate what time I have and how I need to have some more downtime in my diary. I was asked to speak at the ICB Summit virtual day. So they do an in-person day on the Monday and then they do a virtual day on the Wednesday and the Thursday. I was asked to speak there and I actually turned down the opportunity, even though it would have been an incredible opportunity, because I just knew that I wouldn't have been able to give it my best, and I don't want to half-ass these things. And finally, number 3, 2 clients I really wanted to work with didn't sign and then completely and utterly ghosted me. Now, people know that there's a waiting list here. People know that our client books at ABCS UK in the practice don't open regularly, and when they do open, there's usually a waiting list for new clients. We only take on 1 to 2 clients a month to ensure they get that really 5-star high level of service that they deserve and that they are paying for when they come to work with us, which is why we are so different from other traditional bookkeeping and accountancy practices out there. And I'm not going to let our standards slip, and therefore we have a waiting list. A couple of sales calls I had this year, so 2 clients I had sales calls with this year, were both in quite tight predicaments. Granted, they needed somebody there and then, and I had to say to them, look, I can't do it for another week, or it'll be next month before we can take you on, because this is how we work. And they didn't sign with us. I sent out the proposal, did the sales call, and then never heard from them again. And I followed up, as you should always do in business, follow up with them, but they ghosted me. I've never heard from them again, which is really disappointing, but that is business, and people don't often talk about the failures in business and the clients that don't sign and the customers that don't buy. So again, being honest and authentic and transparent is just the way we roll and just the way I like to live my life and my businesses. And there was clients that I wanted to work with that I didn't sign this year, just like there were clients that wanted to work with us and I decided they weren't the correct fit, and we disengaged if they were existing clients, or we said no to them if they weren't prospective clients that wanted to work with us. And I think what I've learned from that is that I need to follow up better. I need to handle any objections in the sales call rather than waiting until afterwards and going, have you got any questions? Ask them in the sales call. Ask them in the discovery call. Is there anything stopping you signing right now? And also my marketing and messaging in both businesses, so in the 3Bs podcast and with ABCS UK, I think my messaging may not be spot on yet and definitely needs some tweaking, because the type of clients that are coming through the door to work with us at ABCS UK are not our ideal clients, which means my marketing and our marketing in the practice is coming across and hitting the wrong people. The people that are receiving it and wanting to speak to us are not the correct clients for the practice. Therefore, the marketing definitely needs tweaking. So that is 3 mistakes I made in 2024, 3 things I've learned from in 2024 that I'm taking into 2025, determined to get better at, to get right this year. Have a look in your own businesses and try and make a list of 3 things you failed at, 3 things you made mistakes in, 3 things that cost your business this year. Because then once you've got those, you can see what you've learned from them and what you can implement into 2025. And I often find that sometimes looking at the things you got wrong and putting them right is better than looking at the things you got right and then doubling down on those. Fixing the leaky bucket, fixing the holes in your business, where are the gaps in your sales channels, where are the gaps in your onboarding processes, things like that can really help you to build a better business into 2025 and beyond. Thank you for joining us. That's the end of another episode of the 3Bs podcast. There's 2 more left in 2024. I can't quite believe it. Like, share, subscribe, wherever you're watching this. If you're on YouTube and watching this, or you're watching it on Spotify, subscribe on those. Or if you're listening on a podcast platform, then subscribe on those too to be notified when the next episode goes live. Every Thursday at 6 a.m, you will find us on the podcast platforms, and 9 a.m. on a Thursday on YouTube. Love to hear from you. If there's anything you want us to cover in 2025, let me know, because we are planning ahead. And I'll see you next week for the next episode. Bye. And that brings us to the end of another episode of the 3Bs podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Please connect with us on social media. Like, rate and review wherever you are listening to this podcast so that I can help more business owners build a better business. See you next week.